Yo, hello. Amazing men that have decided to watch this video. Welcome. This video is going to be extraordinarily powerful, especially if you find yourself craving the approval or attention of women. If you find yourself identifying as a nice guy or having some trouble with sexual intimacy in your relationship, or just claiming what you want in life and tapping into that masculine power of focus, of discipline, of clarity, and showing up every day. This will show you one of the biggest blocks. Now, I'm a recovering nice guy myself, a recovering people pleaser. So when I speak this, I'm not just sharing you information that I've learned, although that's part of it. I'm sharing you my own experience. So without further ado, let's dive in. If you're at home, grab a pen and paper. The more that you write notes, the more you will remember. And this is information worth remembering. You're here, you may as well learn. So let's rock and roll. Nice guy recovery. Reshape your relationship with men, with women, and with yourself. Let's dive in. What we're going to go through today is very simple. What is the nice guy? Simply put, in a sentence or two. How they're created, how the nice guy is produced, how they evolve, the problems with being a nice guy, and the solutions. I want to give you guys some value today that you can take home and use right now to change your life. So what is the nice guy? It is a personality that develops from experiencing trauma, and it's a way to protect oneself from pain and to garner the love and attention that they crave. Now, this is what is true for pretty much all coping responses to trauma. However, the nice guy, typically perceived as something, oh, it's very, very good. It's actually a coping response to trauma. Most people don't know this. Now, they're characterized by focused on being good, being a good boy, and doing the right thing so mommy and daddy will love them. This is how they learn to garner love and attention. Now, let me show you how they're created. So somewhere along the way, the nice guy learned that his needs don't matter. The nice guy learned that I am wrong, I'm doing it wrong. And by the way, that I'm doing it wrong becomes I am wrong. That's how you go from guilt to shame. Guilt is characterized by I did something bad. Shame is characterized by I am bad. It becomes a felt sense. And when you get consistently punished for doing something wrong, punishment could be actual, you did something wrong towards you, or it could be removal of love, being ignored, distance from love. Here are a few common ways this comes up. One, with a smothering mom. When the parents, mom and dad aren't in a great relationship, when they have stress or conflict, oftentimes, unfortunately, the mother will use the children to get her needs for love and connection filled, potentially her needs for significant by maybe, telling the child or telling the younger boy or the teenager all of her problems. And then that boy or that child learns that if I become the therapist for my mom, or if I become her caretaker, if I take care of her, then I get love. And so they learn to give away their own needs. My needs don't matter. The mother's needs matter. And that's an inappropriate relationship for a parent and for a child to have together. The mother's supposed to be the mom, and child's supposed to be the child. The child isn't supposed to be the therapist for the mom. That's a form of emotional trauma, you could call it. Okay. And so then the mother smother, that would be a different one than the mother therapist. The mother smother is what I've called it here, is when the mom is very smothering, gives way too much attention, love to the child for her own needs. The child feels like their boundaries are being crossed, but it's confusing because, it feels good to be loved from mom. It feels good to receive that, but yet they feel like in their gut something is off. And so they learn to disconnect from their intuition or their gut and say, well, fuck, I must be doing something wrong. And they just, negate their own needs again so the mom can get her needs for love and connection filled. And then the third example for how this is created, and by the way, these are just a few of the common themes. There are more than just this. There are more trauma patterns than just this to create this, but these are common ones. And then the one with the father is the father might be distant or unavailable. And for a child, it actually feels like you aren't lovable because when you're in a child's brain, you're a total narcissist. You believe that the world revolves around you. There's no concept really of self and other. There isn't that space. And there certainly isn't the capacity to be like, oh, my dad just suffered from trauma from his dad, and he's going through stress at work. So the only way that he knows how to cope for him is by being distant and going off and drinking or not being present or overworking, becoming a workaholic or an alcoholic or whatever aholic to deal with it. We don't have that capacity. All we know is dad isn't around. I'm not lovable. That's what we learn. Or the father or mother is very critical. So again, we always feel like we're doing it wrong and we make that mean I am wrong. Okay. And then so when that happens, there's a need to garner love and attention because we feel a deficit of it. We feel insufficient. And so we have to garner it somehow. We garner it through the approval of mommy typically. And this is the reason why, because most healthy male role models were not present for us growing up. There are some out there in our culture, but we actually typically have unhealthy male role models or no male role models at all. The fathers aren't present in the home, or if they are, they're emotionally not there, and they aren't in their healthy masculine, they're in their wounded masculine. Okay. And so we learn to garner approval from women through our mother, first of all, because typically fathers are out of the home, that's very common. But also, most teachers are women. And there is this feminist movement, I believe that was in the 70s, that taught us that masculinity is bad, and it threw the baby out with the bathwater. It threw out the healthy masculine qualities too, not just the toxic ones. And sometimes even the mother can contribute to this image, because the mother can sometimes tell the son bad things about the father. Oh, your dad wasn't around. And this is, again, breaking boundaries and creating an unhealthy relationship for that man with the masculine, right? We learn about what the masculine is, what men are like, through viewing our fathers and through the stories our mom tells us about men, right? Because they're mom, we listen to mom, right? Okay, cool. So exercise for you guys. Write down the relationship you have with your father. Was he a powerful man? Was he present in the household? What did you learn from him? And what might you wish you experienced with him? If you could go back, what kind of relationship would you have liked to have with your father? All right. So you can pause the video now and write those questions down. So next piece, some of the problems that the nice guy creates by being a nice guy. Being the nice guy is a problem. Most nice guys will be like, oh, I'm being so good. I'm being such a good boy. But in reality, they're being manipulative. In reality, they're horse trading for love, which I'm going to get to in a second. So some of the core problems. Number one, they're not being fully themselves. And when you're not being fully yourself, when you're doing things to, impress others, or to show others that you're perfect, or to, be somebody that you're not in order to get love and attention, you're not being yourself. Well, that leads to unhappiness, frustration, and addiction. Why? Because when you're not being yourself, you're rejecting a part of your true self. And so you feel that feeling of rejection, or I'm not enough. Also, when you're not being yourself, you don't really claim your desires. You don't claim what you want. And that leads to unhappiness in life. Truly, we're truly happy when we're living in line with our values, when we know who we are, we know what we want, we go claim it, right? And when we're not, we feel frustrated. We feel helpless to get what we want in our life, but really we're the source of it, because we're not claiming our needs. We're not claiming our desires. So we're the source of our frustration, but it appears to be external. My wife isn't giving me what she wants. The government is, not giving me what I need, or whatever. Something else is not giving me what I need, but really it's just us. The second problem with being the nice guy is it's an anxious life to always try to do the right thing. When you're always trying to do the right thing, you're in your head all the time, knowing that there's a wrong choice, and the wrong choice is terrible, and we can't let that happen. But life isn't like that, and human beings aren't like that. We all have a dark side, an imperfect side, a shadow side. And if we try to negate that and say, no, I only have to be good, well, then we're not being human. Being human means to have both a dark and a light side. And so it fills your life with anxiety when you live from this coping pattern of the nice guy. Third thing is they basically give as horse trading. They are giving with the expectation to receive. And so when they give, they feel that they deserve to receive. So they're actually giving with the expectation of receiving something back: love, praise, maybe service, something back in return. And when they don't get it, they feel frustrated or angry at that person, or they just think they need to do more. I haven't done enough yet. When really, if they just were connected to themselves in their beingness and their energy, and they were just giving freely, they'd be so much happier. All right, they wouldn't be going through these feelings of letdown and anger. Fourth thing is that they disconnect with masculine qualities because they were taught it was wrong. So they disconnect from their masculine power, from their direction, from their assertiveness, from their clarity, from their competitive side, because they were taught that it's too aggressive, or it's bad, or it hurts people. It's a bad thing. And so they kind of they don't want to step on anyone's toes, right? If you're a nice guy, that's what you experience. That's what I experienced, when I was really in my nice guy pattern, is you want to step on anyone's toes. You want to just make sure no one gets hurt. Where someone connected to their masculine power can just say the fucking truth, can be clear and direct, and isn't, trying to not hurt anyone's feelings. If they do, they don't want to hurt people. That's not in the healthy masculine. That would be in the wounded warrior wanting to hurt someone, the sadistic warrior. But they're also not overvaluing people's opinions. If a woman, gets offended or something like that, they're not like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it like that, or whatever it might be. There's no qualifiers. They just say what they mean. All right, a few more. There's 3 more problems I've identified. The fifth is that they have to be secretive and lie about things to get their needs met, because they can't be honest with what their needs are. So when you believe that your needs don't matter, you have to lie about them to get them met, because your needs have to get met somehow. Your emotional needs are like water. They have to get met. And so if they don't, and you feel like that you can't through honest means by saying them, hey, this is what I need. If you were taught that your needs don't matter, then you have to do it behind someone's back. You have to find some way to get it met that isn't out in the open, that's secretive, that's a lie. And that is a recipe for terrible relationships. That's a recipe for horrible relationships. Now, not to mention just a life where you're kind of hiding things and it fuels shame. Shame and secrets, they grow in darkness. They grow when, it's hidden. Okay. Sixth thing is that they're not present. If you're always in your head trying to figure things out, then you're not really truly present, which means you're disconnected from your intuition, your heart. You're just living in this fantasy world. You're not being present with people, so your relationships will suffer. You're not being present with yourself, so your emotional state will suffer. You're going to be in this sort of inner conflict, always trying to figure things out. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? I don't know. And it's not a great way to live. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys is that healthy relationships become difficult because when you're horse trading love, when you give with expectation and you're not really being yourself, your relationship's built on a foundation of a lie. It's built on the foundation of manipulation, not on the foundation of truth, authenticity, and service. That's what a relationship can be built on. It can't be built on lying or manipulation or horse trading love. I'll give you this if you give me that. It might be a relationship for a short time. There might be some excitement or some chemistry, but it's not going to be a long-term relationship. If you're not even connected to your own needs, how do you expect to get them met? And if you unconsciously expect your partner to fill your needs without even asking for them, well, then you're just, a numbnuts, a dummy who's trying to get his needs met. Cool. So solutions to these problems. Nice guys need to learn how to care for themselves and uncover their true needs, take time for themselves, learn to nurture themselves, learn to take care of their bodies and their minds. Second thing, they need to learn how to accept themselves as they are and take the pressure off themselves, not try to be perfect or do things right all the time. Learn to be imperfect. Learn to not be seen in the most positive light, but to love yourself in that, accept yourself in that, right? Number three, find people that are willing to help you meet your needs. Don't, stop attracting women that discourage you or that don't care about your needs, which you may have attracted if you had a mother who was like that. You may have attracted the same woman in your intimate relationships. So learning how to express your needs and find people that are willing to meet your needs. Okay. Fourth thing, get comfortable saying no and being in confrontation. This is one of the hardest things for nice guys. One of the feelings they would do the most to avoid, one of their biggest moving away values, in other words, is confrontation, is being in that thing where you say no and you might displease somebody. You have to be comfortable with that, face that fear, get over it. Fifth thing is getting comfortable with their sexuality. So a lot of nice guys, they actually are not fully comfortable with their sexuality, with their sexual power, with their animal inside of them. Because when they repress the masculine qualities, they oftentimes repress that animal, that sexual animal, that dark masculine creature that can just, own somebody, sexually in a sexual context. That is something that I personally had to recover, was my power and my ability to be direct and assertive and confident. Sexuality I've found to be very intimately tied to that. At least for me, I can speak from my own experience. A few more solutions. So a seventh thing is to develop integrity and show up for your goals. A lot of nice guys, they aren't fully in integrity. They're used to lying and being secretive and not showing up powerfully every day. This is something to learn. They often want to live in this pleasurable, nice, soft, sweet, feminine world where they can really use being in integrity and showing up for their goals, even if it's painful in the short term, developing some of that discipline, right? Some of that warrior. Second thing is to build meaningful relationships with men, developing some healthy male role models in relationships and not relying only on women for approval and love and connection. Another thing is to learn to be direct and assertive. I've actually been over that already. Fourth thing, a huge thing, is to learn to not value, the approval of women. Learn to not need the approval of women, to not have it have such a hold over you. And if you grew up with this situation, that might be a difficult task, but you got to do it. Otherwise, you're going to get fucked in your relationships. And I will be honest, in my last relationship, I was still wanting approval from my partner, and I was scared to tell the truth. I was scared to say things that I knew might hurt her because I didn't want to lose her approval, because it was a source of my worthiness. And to lose that felt like death in the nervous system. That's how it works. And so I've had to learn to not value women's approval. I've had to learn to become self-sufficient and, get grounded in myself and my own truth, regardless of what some woman thinks of me, as an example, or my partner. And by the way, I'm doing my partner a huge disservice if I value her approval too much, because then I can guarantee that I'm going to do things that aren't truthful to gain her approval, which means I'll be lying to her, which means I'm going to be fucking up the relationship, the foundation, which is trust. Okay. couple more things. The nice guy needs to learn how to take responsibility for his life, not blame his wife, not blame the government, not blame anything outside of him. He needs to learn he's not a boy anymore. He's a man. He needs to take responsibility for his shit. And then the last thing is to learn to ask for help. Oftentimes, nice guys can feel like they can't ask for help because they're taught they need to do it themselves. Their needs don't matter. People don't help me. I have to help others. They have to learn to ask for help and receive help. So I hope this was valuable for you guys. The last exercise I want to give you is to tell yourself the truth from what you've noticed today and write down 1 to 2 commitments to yourself, something that you learned that you want to apply into your life, something that you want to shift, but a commitment, small or big, that will help move you forward. So this is my presentation for you guys today. If you've been struggling as a nice guy, or if you've been struggling in your relationships or with your sexual encounters with women, this would be the time to make some shifts. If you have any questions, you can put a comment below or send me a DM on Instagram at Brett Bailey with 2 A's. I'd be more than happy to serve you. I've been through this. I know the journey. I have a ton of compassion and empathy for the journey. There's lots of vulnerabilities here, but there's also extraordinary opportunity to create transformation. And that's what I hope for you ultimately. So with that, brother, hope you have an amazing, amazing day wherever this video is catching you. Hope you live with authenticity and passion, and we'll see you soon. Peace.